Hello, welcome back to Blend Sushi Live Coding. In this episode, I'm gonna try to recreate this orbit pattern. It was actually a post by David McSween to me, and there's this animation of the creation of this orbital pattern. Basically, I did this already in the past using Sverchok or animation nodes. Simply if you look at it, this is like the blue planet orbiting around the orange planet, and then there are the two moons orbiting the blue planet, one in a faster speed and the other one is slower speed. And they created this like a flowery kind of pattern. And that's actually fairly easy to recreate in Sverchok. It's not that hard. It's just in Sverchok you can do it in, I think, at least two different ways. This one is a more like Sverchok kind of way. The other one is more like this guy where you actually kind of tracing the motion of orbiting planets and moons. This one is actually more like kind of computational in a way. So what's going on here? I'll try to give a breakdown. I actually have two setup. There's one for the small moon that goes around it. One goes faster, the other one is slower. I think the faster one will generate more flower. I'll show it to you if I delete one of them. So I'm gonna delete this guy. So we'll end up with just this flower pattern. And this guy, I can still turn on this circle. This circle is kind of generating all the potential orbits or all the potential motion of the planet, but it's tracing one particular points. That's why you get this flowery pattern. Maybe I'll make this orange. It's a bit clearer. And we can choose any of particular points of the orbit. You can imagine there's the like little planet here at the gap there, kind of rotating around. So that's how you get this pattern. I'll give you this setup. It's fairly simple. Like I said, it's less than 15 nodes. Basically, I started with a circle because I know that the circle will kind of generate this kind of pattern, and with the circle I created duplicates of a circle for every rotation. Let me check. So first of all, I move the circles from its center. So by default, all the circle is placed on the 0, 0, 0, but I move it up like certain distance in X. It needs to be in X, I think, in this case, because we are looking at from the top and then the X-axis goes that way. And then we rotate it around using this rotation. And on top of that rotation, I'm also rotating the whole matrix of the circle using this range float. That's why we get that pattern. So I could, let's say I'm only making like half circle, this is what I get. If I make like full 360, this is what I get. And this is how many sampling of the circle we generate. So if I only have like a few circles, sometimes the interesting thing is that depending on the variation of this number, sometimes we get the circle that's more, the flower that's more like this. I don't know what it's called, epicycloid, or sometimes you get the opposite kind of flower. So yeah, there are at least two variations, and there you go. See this flower compared to the other one, which is like more like the outside. So yeah, there's a heaps of variety you can create using this setup. Let's say if I make it like one time, you get this. I think there's a math formula that actually generates this flower pattern automatically. This one is more procedural, I guess. And if you change the radius of the flower, you also get a different result. You might notice there's a gap there. The gap actually you don't need to worry too much. It's just like the closing. If you only if I make it like a extra 1 points where the last points and the first point overlap, then this will close. Otherwise, I just kind of leave it like that. There is also one more thing we can do. If you want to close the gap anyway, you can turn on this cyclic V. Now it's closed, and if you bake this, you get this curve pattern anyway. So it's quite nice that way. And then you can use polyline viewer. This one need to also maybe you close it here, and you can control the radius. So this is definitely kind of a review of the old live noding. In the older live noding, I explained it more in depth. It's probably a little bit more confusing. This one is definitely simplified and much more easier to understand. So if I draw it from scratch, what happened is I start with a circle at 0, 0, 0, and then I move it to in X, and then I rotate it multiple times. And in Sverchok, if you use range, whenever you use range float, which is multiple value, and you plug it into things like angle, this thing will kind of multiply and become like a multiple values. This multiple transform goes into the viewer draw, and you see there's this number here. You actually make multiple duplicates. That's why we get all these circles, a lot of circles. And so what's happening next is that with those circles, I'm kind of tracking one point. See, I'm using list item. I'm tracking one index points of the circle and then tracing it, using UV connections. That's why I get this flowery kind of pattern. Yeah, so that's the whole process. There's nothing much. If you look at this and try to understand it, maybe take all the nodes apart and then try to rebuild it yourself, you will start to get it eventually. And really you can have like a lot of variations simply by using this setup. You can expand it. Maybe instead of using circle, you use something else. I have not tried that. Maybe that's worth doing. So instead of using circle, maybe let's say this is the edges, isn't it? Maybe I can use, maybe I give a cut here, cut it, and use end poly, and gone. I think end gone does it. Potentially we're gonna get a different design. Let me hide this. Okay, that's using an end gone. Can't see anything. Didn't see much changes. Actually, the flower things, I think the flower pattern doesn't change much unless you scale maybe scale the circle or something. But this pattern will definitely change, the black pattern. See, let me try something. I don't know how to explain this, but I think even you can also use grease pencil and then kind of play around with this pattern and see what you can come out with. I think it's very interesting, but it's just hard to explain. You just have to give it a try. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this live coding. Hopefully you enjoy this one. Let me know if you have any feedbacks, suggestion, and thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.